Bo, after a couple days, or I guess how long did it take for the comeback to sink in and for you to kind of process it and appreciate what y'all did?
Well, I still think it's pretty crazy. I crashed after the game. I was pretty tired. I think emotionally and physically exhausted, but it was a good win for us. Obviously much better than the alternative. But that was a big one for us and a good team win. And everybody got their flowers, but I think we're all ready to move on and go play better.
Sean just told us he's trying to make Wednesdays transfer to Sundays. How do y'all do that this week in practice?
Well, we've been trying to do that. I think that's the most important part of practice is to make it like a game. I think you got to work with the schedule and work with whatever practice flow you get, make it look like a game and make it intense and put pressure on yourself in a huddle and break in the huddle and on a play and get the urgency up and everything that goes into a game day and make it feel real. So we play with great effort at practice and that carries over. But I think just how can we be more urgent and how can we make the pressure go up in practice at all times. I think we've done a really good job of that sometimes, and then at other times we've let maybe other things get in the way. But we're excited about this week. I think everybody's got a little bit of an edge, wanting to play a little bit better.
Well, what's the key to a smoother, more effective start, at least in your estimation?
I think it's stacking first downs and getting the first points on the board. We've continued to try to find ways to grow, learn. How can we get that to happen on the first drive? How can we go down and get points? How can we get a few first downs? There's one thing about putting openers together and having your plays, but, another to go execute them. So that's what we have to focus on. That's what we're looking forward to doing. I think everybody on offense has kind of that edge to them to where we're kind of, tired of being close. So I think everybody's working towards, making those first few possessions count.
Well, you've mentioned how there aren't a lot of prima donnas in this locker room, or there are no prima donnas in this locker room. When games get overanalyzed by style points, how does a room like you guys have affect winning and stacking winning based on guys not caring how you get the job done?
Well, I think, there's a lot of ways to win a game. Obviously, there's our preferences, the ways we want to win. But at the same time, it's tough to win in this league. They were a hungry football team. They were ready to play. They'd come off a couple of good wins. They had a long weekend. And so they were, had an edge that we didn't have at the beginning. You never want to make excuses, but, schedules can be tough. We've had a difficult schedule as of late. Haven't let us, knock us down. We've continued to stack wins. We just got a competitive edge to us right now. Whatever, by any means necessary, we're just going to get the job done, whether it's a special teams play, a defensive play, or an offensive play. And at times, everybody past several weeks have made the plays necessary to win games. Now, style points are another thing. You always want to look pretty doing it. You always want to look better. You want to find the mistakes and fix them. And that's what, that's why we're out here practicing. We're only on week 7 of the season, going on week 8. So a lot to be learned and a long season ahead of us. But, we're not satisfied with where we're at, but at the same time, doing something that hadn't been done here in a long time. So that's also something to, be confident in as well.
Oh, along those lines, you're 5-2, but haven't played your best football yet. Is there more encouragement there that you can draw from because you still can be better, yet you're 5-2?
Yeah, for sure. We looked in the mirror and seen all the different ways that we've hurt ourselves. We know we have a penalty problem. We know we have an execution problem at times. I wouldn't even say at all times because then it's hard to score 33 points without executing in a quarter. So it's there. We just have to find the way to do it at all times and not lose our, mental and physical focus. And it's just important that we, start faster and we just got to find a way to do it. And it's easier said than done. We just got to literally go out there and take the game at the beginning and not have to win it in the end.
Well, you mentioned the schedule. Are there things that, not asking you for the specific things, but are there things you do to recover now that maybe you didn't in your rookie year just based on kind of what you've learned about how to, operate a weekly schedule?
Not really. I feel like I have a similar routine. Focus right now is, sleep is most important way to recover. And, we've been battling time zones lately, just trying to get to sleep in. And so that's the number one way to regroup and get back going, get back in a routine and a rhythm. Nutrition and working on your body and working out and staying in shape is probably the next most important thing. And then there's different things that you can do for recovery methods, and obviously got our routine with that. And I will say this about our team: a lot of guys they take care of themselves and they do a good job of recovery. I think that's the difference between as you go from high school to college to the pros, you see it build more and more, and you see pretty much every guy on the team does recovery now. And so that's just something that you just kind of fall in line with, and you feel the effects, and you understand how it makes you feel better. So rest, recovery, all that's important. You just got to be very intentional about it. Knock it out, make it a part of your routine, and then make it just like a practice rep to where it's got to be 100%.
The Pro Football Hall of Fame tweeted out that you're the first guy in NFL history in a fourth quarter to have 2 touchdown passes and 2 running touchdown passes. What do you think of that?
That's pretty cool. When you're in a league like this, and you're playing with a bunch of professionals, when you're the first to do something, it's pretty cool. But at the same time, there's a lot of guys that have been first to do a lot of things. I think just because there's so many situations, a lot of football out there, and so a lot of firsts that are going to be, it's cool to do them, but at the same time, there's going to be a lot of guys that be the first to do something else down the road. So all that matters is we scored enough points to win the game. Guys made enough plays at the end of the game. Our receivers and skill players, they battled their tail off there down the stretch with some tempo. Our O-line did a heck of a job protecting as the game went on, and we just found ways to get in the end zone. And at that point, nobody was really worried about it. Like I said after the game, we just kind of stopped looking at the scoreboard and just worried about scoring as quick as we could the next time we touched the football. And I think that's a good way to go about it this week is, every time we touch the football, let's score as fast as possible.
Well, a lot is
Last
made,
question, Arnie.
A lot is made of how difficult it is to win a game in this league, no matter how good or bad the team is. And I'm wondering, do you ever judge in your own mind, judge the quality of the victory, or do you take the victory and then approach it, to fix corrections like you would any other week?
There's definitely different victories that are tougher to go by, different teams that are harder to play. They're in a better situation right now than others. But at the same time, each week it's always interesting. With 32 teams in the league, you find yourself looking at a depth chart, and you're like, this guy is a really good player, Pro Bowler, Hall of Famer. Got a chance to be one of the best to ever play, and so when you're doing that each and every week, it really, at the same time doesn't matter because you're going to play against really good players week in and week out. You're going to play against good teams, and all these teams, it's their profession, it's their livelihood, so they're going to go out there and give it everything they have to win the game because that's their job. And so you could play a team that hasn't necessarily won many games but has been close, and they're going to give you the tougher game than an opponent that may be, comfortable where they are. So it really doesn't matter. I think at the end of the day, winning is just the most important. Style points, nobody really cares. They don't keep points for style points. It's just a win and a loss column. And, in our situation, you got to put as many wins as you can in that column so that you can put yourself in a good situation for the playoffs and in the future. So that's what we're focused on right now, finding ways to win games by any means necessary.
Thank you both.
Thank you.